Hello, I am Ada Bobino, and by now you should know who I am because I've been since the beginning of the festival, but the founder and director of San Antonio Black International Film Festival. We have put together some great resources of organizations all along the way. If you missed that session, then I hope you can catch it on YouTube. But for our closing films, we had the honor and the privilege to invite the Black Hollywood Education Resource Center to curate short films by Black women, since the theme of the festival is Black women. And so they did a phenomenal job, and you'll see those after our conversation. But first, I want to bring on, here we go. There we go. There you go. How are you? I want to bring on Sandra Evers-Manly. Hi, Sandra. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ada. It's an honor to be with you, and thank you for such a wonderful festival and all that you do.
Thank you. You all are my inspiration, and I mean that. I mean that. So I want to first get started, Sandra, with just telling us a little bit about the Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center, and when you founded it, why you founded it, and just get into the mandate of why is it important. I know that's a lot, but yeah.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, and hello, everyone. Really honored to join you. Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center. We're based in Los Angeles, California. We're a nonprofit organization. I started the organization in 1996 as a way to help Black filmmakers. I had at the time been the president of the Beverly Hills Hollywood NAACP for 12 years. And when I left the NAACP, there was one thing that I found is that young people in particular who were in college, emerging Black filmmakers, did not have a place where they could go to get support. And so during that time, I met a young man. His name was David Massey. At the time, he was a student at the American Film Institute, AFI. He was completing his thesis project, and he said, hey, I really need some help. I'm completing my thesis project and need help with funding. And we were able to provide some funding. We went out and helped to raise money. We assisted him with providing location shoots for his film. We were able to get a caterer and different things to help him. Just so happened during that time, David became the first Black filmmaker to be nominated for an Academy Award in the short film category. As a result of that, David then started talking and saying, Sandra, many filmmakers, when we're in college, we don't have a place to really show our films. And so I said, oh, wow. So he and a group of individuals said we should start a short film showcase. And so we started our festival, short film showcase. It's called the African American Film Marketplace and SEM-Manly Short Film Showcase. However, before we even started that organization and our short film showcase, we felt at the time there was not enough attention on Black women filmmakers. And so we started a festival thanks to an individual named Ralph Scott called Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. And we wanted to highlight Black women directors. But once we started BHERC, and I really say we, I may have kind of been the vessel to get it going, but there's a group of individuals who all came together. We had another filmmaker after David Massey. Her name was Gina Prince. Today she's Gina Prince Bythewood, who did Love and Basketball. She's done Old Guard, and she's about to do an amazing film that many of us know. But Gina was a student at UCLA at the time. And same thing, she says, I need help. I want to do film, and we were able to give her finishing funds for her student thesis project. And so it's just taken on a life on its own. So
let me interrupt you. David Massey, because I know that name. What was his film? What was his short film that won?
Last Breeze of Summer.
Last Breeze of Summer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll write that down because I want to see that.
And it starred Marla Gibbs. It's a wonderful story that dealt with integration during the time.
Okay.
And so how I really started this program is when I was a little girl, organization, I used to always complain and ask my mother, why wasn't there people that looked or act like me on TV? And my mother looked at me and she said, change it. And so I came to Southern California to really make a difference, to try to bring about more diversity so that I could see people that looked and act like me and my family and my friends. And so here we are now, 27 plus years, working to really bring about change. Again, we've got a host of festivals. We have Sisters of Doing It for Themselves that we do every March. The festival requires that Black women be directors of those films. We just completed our Real Black Men short film showcase, which took place August 7th through the 29th. We have our upcoming inspirational and religious film festival, faith-based film festival that's coming up September 18th through the 29th. And then we have a youth festival that we do every MLK weekend for young people, our Diversity Youth Film Festival. Then our large festival, which happens every October through November, will be coming up shortly as well. We do a host of workshops. We do different seminars. We have a film club called the First Weekend Club, because if we're going to really make a difference, we've also got to go out and support Black films that really help to uplift, inspire, films that have Black folks in front of as well as behind the scenes.
So we're gonna go through, because I want to go through what was happening in the 90s filmically, cinematically, but I want to like, how did you get started? I mean, you know what I'm saying? How did you get started? Did you pull some folks together? Or was it the one woman show with, how did you pull things together? Because the organization, how-tos is really important for people out here, because oftentimes they don't see the behind the scenes. And the amount of programming that you all put out, you would think that you have a staff of 50 people. I mean, you all are just awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that staff is 5 individuals. And we all pretty much volunteer. I don't work full time for the organization. I actually work in the aerospace business. So we have a director, John Forbes, who is just an incredible individual, who has dedicated his life to helping Black filmmakers, helping to tell our stories.
Is John a filmmaker?
John is a filmmaker. He's a producer. John is one of those Black producers early on in Hollywood who had to deal with the extreme racism that many of our filmmakers early on had to deal with.
We need to pull a session with John later. That's good to know.
Absolutely. He's got the history. He can tell you about stories of how when he and his partners would go and pitch Black stories, especially Black dramas, that, studio executives would say to them, oh, nobody would ever believe that there would be a wholesome Black family. And he could tell you the stories. He could show you the wounds. But the one thing I will tell you, he's always lent his voice and his help to help Black filmmakers. And so he has been extremely helpful in us and our mission. And we call ourselves BHERC, within BHERC.
Wow. So, go ahead. So you were gonna say, how did you?
So it really started with just me. I came from a civil rights family, the Evers family in Mississippi. We were never taught to complain. We were always taught.
You were from the Evers family?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so we were never taught to complain. We were taught that we had to do, and it wasn't enough to sit on the sidelines and wait for others to do it. And so again, my mother said, change it. And I just had this vision. We could do more. We needed to help our filmmakers. So that here we are today, still trying to change the landscape as it relates to Black images, both in front of and behind the scenes in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking back and trying to think what I did a little research. What was Hollywood's climate like in the 90s when you started it? So I know there were things as far as creating and distributing Black subject matter and actors and lead roles. And so I was like, the 90s was rocking. I mean, you had Boys in the Hood, you had Minister Society, Eve's Bayou, Crooklyn, Love Jones, Malcolm X, Soul Food, Waiting to Exhale, New Jack City, Set It Off, What Love's Got to Do with It. I was like, the 90s seemed like they were popping more than today.
Well, I think there were definitely a number of stories, but there was still a lot of those stories centered in certain genres. There was still not a lot of Black studio executives in Hollywood where we could get the full range of the Black experience. So while we saw some what I would call peaks, there was still a lot of valleys that we had to overcome. There's still not enough Black directors, Black writers, Black producers, and certainly Black executives, which still today we struggle with. But yeah, definitely there were John Singletons of the world. There was Casey Lemons, who has participated in Our Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. And if anyone gets an opportunity, go to BHERC.org and for our Black Carpets film series. And it's where Black filmmakers have a space to speak. And there's an incredible interview with Gina Prince Bythewood and Casey talking about their careers. But it was still not enough. And still today, while we see things happening, there's still much more work to be done.
You know what, though? I really think, Sandra, that people have become so complacent. I mean, you all, one thing, people have become so complacent, audiences have become so complacent. Does it really matter to audiences if they see our products? Because it's hard as hell, I'm telling you. It's hard as hell. This is year number 3. I'm trying to build an audience. Hey, we exist. Hey, we're here. So, I mean, it's like, I don't know. How did you maintain the momentum and the fortitude to keep it going and growing it year after year to the point where now it's 27 years? I mean, I want to be like you when I grow up. I really do. I want SABIFF to be like you all. But it is a struggle.
It is a struggle. And I would say the struggle is real and the struggle continues, for many years. And even still to this day, sometimes I have to tell people it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. The other thing is that what I encourage all of our participants is that this work is life-changing. Oftentimes the images that people see of us or they don't see us is how people judge us. And that's why up on what we do. It's so important for us to make sure that we can see more Gina Princes of the world. We see more Ryan Coogler's of the world. And Ryan was also a young filmmaker when he was a student at the University of Southern California. He was completing 2 short films that we were able to provide funding. And so that's what this work is all about. It's about how do we help bring up that next generation? How do we make sure that there's a pool of talent? Oftentimes what we hear from Hollywood is they can't find. Well, I can tell you there's talent out there. There's talent ready to go. They just need the opportunity.
Yeah, I think one of the things in terms of dealing with talent, and it's good to know that you all are not only front and center, you're really dealing also with behind the scenes, making sure that the people in decision-making positions and supporting their endeavors to get their films out and distributed and seen. So you all are dealing with both in front of the scenes, us seeing the films, but also behind the scenes trying to grow the folks that do make decisions to get movies made. I was talking to Uzan Palsi as our Award Achievement Award honoree this year. And one of the things just talking with her was, I mean, she left, she did an exile from Hollywood. But one of the reasons why was because she's pitching Black life stories. And they're like, oh no, that doesn't happen. No, people aren't interested. So yeah, she just left. And so you do get to a point where you have to continually prove yourself, prove your worth, prove your your story. So working on both ends is extremely important. And one of the things I liked when I read the information about your organization, it's a nonprofit benefit organization. I'd never seen that before, but that goes a long way. that
Yeah,
goes on.
and I will tell you, when you talk about the Uzun Palsies of the world, the Julie Dashes, here are individuals who were groundbreaking Black women. They should have hundreds of film credits and going on right now, but they have had to go through tremendous hurdles in this industry. And that's why we exist today, because those individuals, they broke Julie, and others, the Nima Barnett's of the world. Those Black women, they proved themselves many years ago. And they proved it through some of the most extreme racism that existed in that industry. And it's no way that they should have had to go exile, or we could say, where's Julie today, or different. Luckily, we're starting to see more work of Julie's. But here are individuals who are tried and true, and they've got the talent, and they should be working every day.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that is interesting to me is, I mean, there's the Black independent world, and there's the industry, there's Hollywood. And a lot of times, for me, myself, as a documentary filmmaker, I didn't even know that independent filmmaking existed, that Black independent filmmaking existed, until I went to a HBCU. Mm-hmm. And then I learned, oh my God, there's another side. You don't have to try to get into Hollywood to be an effective, impactful filmmaker. You can do independent. So that was like a light bulb for me, attending Howard and learning under Haile Garima, and the professors that were there just opened my eyes that there are alternatives. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, when you started the organization, okay, you basically support what Hollywood does in support of Black creatives and their film projects. And then when they're not putting out what they should be, executives and films, there's an activism arm that's fired up, it seems. So I think that's awesome. Why is that something that drives you in terms of bringing that activism? And I know you said you're from a civil rights family, so maybe it's just in you, the Evers family.
I will say it's definitely in me, because there are times I would just say, I want to go read a good book and just let it go. But again, our stories deserve to be told. There's so much to our history that's still yet to be told in Hollywood. There's still yet stories that should be told of what's happening in everyday life. There are incredible, you talk about being a documentary filmmaker. I happen to have the utmost highest respect for documentary filmmakers, because they're telling stories that are often left out of the table, left out of the Hollywood equation. And it's great that we can have individuals such as yourself. We have a film right now called Ferguson Rising that we've been able to fund through Help to Bribe for funding. I started an arm called Films with a Purpose. And this is providing funding to filmmakers who want to develop films that either help to inspire, uplift, help to talk about history, and sometimes stories that just get you mad to bring about action. And so Ferguson Rising is a film that's out right now. We're actually getting ready to do a 7-day run in Los Angeles at the Lindley, Santa Monica. But it's a story about Michael Brown, the killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. And the filmmaker Mo Balaji is this incredible filmmaker, and he's developed this incredible film that talks about the life after what's going on in Ferguson, and the hope and healing that must take place, and how this incident also brought about international attention because of the killing of this young man. And so this film is at a number of film festivals right now. And so through Films with a Purpose, one of the things we want to do is we want our filmmakers to tell stories that are going to help change the equation, that's going to help tell stories that's going to get us to think in different ways and act in different ways as well.
That's wonderful. I look forward to that, to seeing that. So I want to just kind of go through some of the things that you all do and on your website. You talk about them and highlight them so that people can know what you do beyond what we just discussed, and go to your website and support it. One is Operation Love. I love that, because that's a community service arm. Can you speak to that? Some of the things you do. I see there's a Black bookstore you distribute meals and supplies to the needy, et cetera, et cetera. Just talk a little bit about Operation Love and how that came about as being an arm of your organization.
You know, it's for me, it's not just about the films, but it's also about the giving. It's about, I truly believe that to live, we've got to give. And one day I was out in Southern California during COVID, and I was walking, and I had a bottle of water in my hand, and this gentleman looked at me who was homeless, and he said, I can't tell you the last time that I had some clean water. And of course, I offered him the bottle of water that I had. And then I was watching the local news when I live now in Washington, D.C., but I still have a home in Los Angeles, so I come back and forth. And I was home during COVID, when COVID just hit in March of 2020. And the Union Rescue Mission, which is in downtown LA, that supports the homeless, was saying that they were running out of toilet paper. They didn't have enough toilet paper. And I was like, how can that be? Here I am in America, I'm in Los Angeles, that the Union Rescue Mission is saying they're running out of toilet paper. And so basically got on the phone, said, hey, I know I can help raise for toilet paper. Let's give back. And as a result, we then just started seeing the tremendous amount of homelessness in Los Angeles. And I said, let's start part of our arm, Operation Love. And so for at least 7 months, we started going out every weekend, feeding the homeless. We then started hearing about the number of seniors who were locked in and shut in. They didn't have people who could go check in on them. So for Mother's Day, for Father's Day, we started doing gift baskets and different things like that to support everything from our seniors, our homeless individuals on the streets. And so Operation Love is just our way of giving back. And we had incredible individuals, Reggie Bythewood, Gina Prince Bythewood, and different individuals who came out to help us give back into the community.
I think one of the beautiful things is that the people who started with you when they were young and impressionable and out of film school have stuck with you. That says a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm so impressed about, because a lot of people say sometimes people you do and they go. But Gina and Reggie, they have always, we've been able to call on them. Individuals like Michael Schultz. We have done a number of different events at our festival last year.
Oh my God, I saw the Cooley High reunion. That was wonderful. That brought back memories too.
Yeah, and I will tell you, anytime we've called on Michael, would he come and speak for us? He's been there. Glenn Thurman is another individual. Those individuals are all given back to our organization, and we're just so honored. Charles Floyd Johnson, who is one of the most celebrated television executive producers, has been someone who is just always, Scott. Those individuals have given back to us, and we're just honored. But I will just tell you, this work is hard. Sometimes
you gotta tell me, girl.
Sometimes you come to the theater and you'll say, where are the people? But I'll tell you, what our Diversity Youth Film Festival, to have middle school students and high school students telling some of the stories that they tell, this past year, students telling stories about bullying, students stories about abuse, and then coming to find out stories about gang violence, that some of these kids, we had one young man in our program several years ago, he and his sister, and she came to the opening night, and I was like, where's your brother? And she shared that her brother had been killed a few weeks earlier. Wow. So we see this work as life-changing mission focus. It's not just about making sure we get a film on the screen, but how do we help change those lives as well?
And to me, that's what to me needs to click so much more with sponsors and with audiences, because it is life changing. Films can take you to places that you will never even imagine going. They can expose you to activism. They can expose you to educational topics and subjects. They can expose you to history. I mean, it's so incredibly empowering the type of films that specifically that we focus on, because there's some films that but that's what people, for me, need to get, the power of film, how impressionable it can be on a young person sitting in the audience who's never been exposed to something, or who needs an out or an in or a resource. It's just really an amazing. Ozana said that she doesn't shoot films. She made a quote. I got to put that quote up on our site, but something about she doesn't shoot films to shoot. She shoots films to heal. And that to me, it just says it all.
Yeah, one of the films that you'll see in the festival, your festival, is called I'm Not Special, and it's actually a film that I helped to produce. But it stars a young Black man with Down syndrome. And so one of the things we are trying to do that's important for us is to make sure that people of all abilities have an opportunity who look like us to be able, and you'll see Julius did a phenomenal job in this film as the lead actor. But our stories matter. I will just say, I could remember when I first saw Gina Prince's first film, I knew she was destined for greatness when I saw her first short film.
Oh, the short one. What was the short one? I'm thinking Love and Basketball. What was the short one?
No. She did an incredible short film, and you see it was black and white, this particular film, and you see this young Black man running, and it's all done silent, but you hear the breathing, and then all of a sudden you see the film change into color. And he's running, and then all of a sudden he's behind a car. First in the black and white, he's being chased by the KKK. Woo! And then all of a sudden it turns color, and you see him hiding up behind a car, and he looks up, and the image looks just like him.
Wow.
No sound, no words, just you see light sound of the running, and then you look up. And you couldn't believe it. Same thing with Ryan Coogler. When I saw one of his first short films, you see this young man who's in the house with his sister, and his sister had lost all of her hair because she was battling cancer. And her brother was her hero. And he's had these incredible dreadlocks. And there's no sound, and all of a sudden he goes walking into the neighborhood with his hoodie, and you see all these images of all these Black men with dreads on. All of a sudden he enters into a barbershop. Again, no words spoken, and you see these dreads come off. And then next thing you know, you see him make it back through the neighborhood, where obviously dreads were so important, this great symbol, very symbolic. Then he makes it home. His young sister, who's battling cancer, who's bald head, takes off her brother's hoodie, and she smiles.
I'm crying just hearing about it. I can visualize that. Oh my God.
That's the power of filmmaking. In the film, in this festival, Twinkie Berg does an incredible film where you'll see these young people go back in time to see what it's like to experience being at a lunch counter in the 60s, what that was like. And so that's what film does. It can uplift you, it can educate you, it can inspire you, but it also may get you mad to bring about the right action and change. And that's why we do what we do. Our young people today, we work with a young filmmaker, Alcee Walker. He's a part-time school teacher, but he's an incredible filmmaker. And he recently came and we met about what was going to be his next story. And he said, I want to do this story about a police officer killing a Black man. And I said, Alcee, I'm going to talk to you. We know we need those stories, but we've seen that equation. We all know how it ends. But what if we do something about how our Black students and other young students are struggling with COVID, and just kind of, we take a look, COVID has not only impacted us today, but it's going to have years of impact because of how kids have struggled being online or not being online. Let's kind of talk about that, because we've got to save our kids that look like us. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's not just about a storytelling, but it's about the impact of those stories as well.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. And with impact, because we're going to wrap this up soon, with impact, you all have curate John, and you put together some wonderful films that we're showing for our closing night up next. Can you talk about the vast array of you got animation in there, you got documentaries, how the curation of the films that you're bringing us came about in terms of your picks?
Absolutely. So the picks were hard. But again, we do every year a program called Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves, and it focuses on Black female filmmakers. And so we took a sample of some of those films. Some of those films will give you a historical view of Black life, of what some of the struggles existed of our people. There is animation. There's two sisters, the Gibbs sisters. What makes them special is they are twins, and they work together on developing incredible animated shorts, and they got several new projects coming out. But they also teach for us. We do a lot of workshops for young people, so you're going to see one of their projects. You're also going to see this incredible film about a Black and white film, again, what it was like for our people back in the day, going in a store where they had to go into separate bathrooms. They had to, couldn't eat at a lunch counter. And so we've tried to give you some diversity. We've got one of our former scholarship filmmakers who will be talking a little bit, sharing her story. She's a graduate, Nicole, out of the University of Southern California. So you're going to see a diversity of our films. You'll see some in Black and white. You'll see some in color. You'll see some dealing with some of the issues today. You'll see some dealing with issues of yesterday, but all brilliantly done. And that's why what I'll say is, to me, when you see these films, no one can tell me they should not, we should have more Black women directors, Black directors in general working in Hollywood, because the talent is there. The stories are there, both as writers, directors, and producers. And so we look forward to you looking at these films and letting us know what you think.
Well, we are blessed to connect with you all, to partner with you all. You do an amazing job. The Fabulous Five, you do an amazing job. And your crew, and just the people that started with you, who are now gone on to great heights in the film industries. It's just a blessing. And we appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you. This work, again, it's hard, it's necessary. I encourage you to keep doing it. You know, when I look at what's happening today, you know, we've got some exceptional talent and individuals like Ava DuVernay and others, Ryan Coogler, Gina Prince, Reggie, Malcolm Lee. There's great talent out there, and we can't stop, because the future is also waiting for us to help them. And that's what you do through your film festival. So just know we need you. We're here to partner with you. We don't consider ourselves an organization. We consider ourselves family. And that's what our filmmakers are, is that we're here to try to help our families as much as we can.
We appreciate
tell
that.
our stories and tell it in our way, and provide forums like this for filmmakers.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Sandra. And we look forward to what's next. So you all stick around. And the Black Hollywood Education Resource Center can be obtained at www.bherc.org. Please go on the website. Please register. Support the films. Support Black lives in films, Black stories, because it all matters. Thank you, Sandra, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
You too. Thank you. Let's support Black films. Let's support the San Antonio Black International Film Festival. Ada and the team are wonderful, and we must lift them up and be there. Let's support our community, everyone.
Appreciate you.